Good afternoon, this is Dimitri Lascaris coming to you on August 20th, 2024. About a week ago, after having arrived in Athens on a flight from Canada, I reported on the presence in Greek waters of two US-flagged vessels, tankers, that were transporting military jet fuel to Israel, and the fact that the Greek government allowed this to be done, notwithstanding the warnings of international legal experts that any cooperating government would potentially incur liability for complicity in the crimes of humanity of Israel. Now, in the course of delivering that report about a week ago, I mentioned that it was my intention at that time to travel on from Athens to Malta a few days later to join the latest mission of the Freedom Flotilla coalition to Gaza, and specifically a fishing vessel by the name of the Handala, which bore the flag of Norway and which had traveled over the past year all the way from the shores of Norway to the Mediterranean. It was scheduled to depart on about August 15th toward Gaza, and I had accepted an invitation to be a passenger and a participant in that mission. I learned a couple of days later that the mission had been delayed for 4 days to Monday of this week, yesterday. And then yesterday I learned that the mission had in fact been postponed indefinitely. The vessel is quite old. It's already had to undergo very significant repairs. So there are technical issues that have to be overcome, but also there are complications involved in finding a qualified crew to pilot the vessel through to its final destination. So sadly, at least for the time being, and until a date that is not known at this time, that mission has been postponed. So upon learning of this yesterday, I decided to pursue a plan B. I always knew there was some risk that this might happen because of the condition of the vessel and the difficulty in finding a qualified crew. And my plan B was to return to Lebanon. Because obviously what is happening here at this particular moment, after the assassinations on July 31st by Israel of the top Hezbollah military commander, Fuad Shukur, and the political leader of Hamas, Ismail Haniyeh, in Tehran, we are clearly on the precipice of a potentially devastating war, not only one that will cause immense suffering in this region, but a war that would undoubtedly cause incalculable damage to the global economy. And it's no exaggeration to say that that war, should it occur, and we're very, very close to that happening, that it would affect everybody on this planet in some way or another. It could indeed spiral into a nuclear conflict, given the very extensive interests of the nuclear armed states in this region, not just the United States, not just Israel, but also Russia and China. So I arrived here this morning, and my first order of business today is going to be to visit the site of the assassination of Fuad Shukur, the top military commander. After some negotiations with the security authorities in the southern Beirut suburb of Dahya, where the assassination occurred, I've been granted permission to do a report from that site later today. And for the balance of my trip, and it's not clear to me right now exactly how long I'll be here, but it'll definitely be for at least 5 or 6 days, I intend to access whatever parts of South Lebanon I can. Some are off limits to the media because, indeed to all foreigners, because of the very considerable dangers of the combat taking place there on a daily basis. But there are areas where I should be able to gain access, and hopefully I will be able to provide you reporting, on-the-ground reporting of civilian infrastructure that's been destroyed and civilian casualties. That is a prime objective of my reporting on this trip and on my prior trips. This is, by the way, my 5th trip to Lebanon since the beginning of 2023, my 4th trip since the genocide began in Gaza. And another objective will be to actually, if I can, and this would be quite difficult, but it may happen, it did happen on my last trip, to do some reporting on actual combat from the Lebanese side of the border, which is to say combat engaged in by the resistance forces in South Lebanon. So stay tuned. I'll have much more to say about what's going on here in Lebanon in the week ahead. In the interim, I wanted to talk a little bit about a very disturbing development in a Western country that I learned of this morning, and that is Richard Medhurst, an independent journalist who has a widely followed YouTube program and who does absolutely stellar reporting on the suffering of the Palestinian people, the crimes of Israel, and more broadly on the entire hegemonic imperialistic project of the West. He put out a video within the past 24 hours revealing that he had just been arrested by British authorities. And as he explains it, he landed in Heathrow after having come from a foreign destination, and there were 6 British police officers waiting for him, and they arrested him under Section 12 of the British Terrorist Act, or Terrorism Act of 2000. I was not aware of this particular provision. Amazingly, this provision of the Terrorism Act, Section 12, criminalizes expressions of support for entities that are designated by the British government as terrorist organizations. And you can serve a penalty of up to 14 years in prison if you're judged by a British court to have violated that section of the law. So he was arrested under that provision. He was not given, as he tells the story, and I have no reason whatsoever to doubt him. He's a person of impeccable integrity, in my opinion. They didn't tell him exactly why they had arrested him under this provision, support for whom, in what manner did he support a terrorist organization. These were not questions they were prepared to answer. He had great difficulty contacting his family. He had great difficulty speaking with his lawyer. He reports that he was put in solitary confinement for a period of 24 hours. And he now is apparently, as I understood his statement today, suspending his journalistic activities for an indefinite period of time because he doesn't know what he can and cannot say without incurring potentially serious criminal liability. And frankly, I don't blame him. And he did ask at the end for his members of his audience to provide whatever donations they can in the interim, because journalism is his livelihood. I'm certainly going to make a donation, and I encourage you to do that. I'm going to put a link to Richard Medhurst's website in the description of this video. And let me just say, this isn't just a question of the freedoms and the journalistic activities of Richard Medhurst. This is really quite an alarming development in my view, because in effect, what Section 12 of the Terrorism Act of the United Kingdom does is it criminalizes disagreements about whether or not a group or an individual should be designated as a terroristic one. Because, of course, if you contest the British government's determination that some organization or individual is a terrorist, you could be construed to be supporting that individual, very clearly, or that group. So effectively, they criminalized disagreements about terrorism designations by the British government. Not just criminalized it, but in a very serious way. 14 years in prison. If ever there was a draconian penalty, that was it. Just for expressing your thoughts, just for criticizing a designation of a terrorist organization. And just think about the implications of this. Designating somebody as a terrorist organization or a group as a terrorist entity is absolutely devastating. This could result in the person going to jail or the group being abolished and its leaders being imprisoned, prosecuted criminally. This could result in the seizure of their assets. This could result in loss of employment, loss of business opportunities. This could result in social marginalization, the person being ostracized, rendered a pariah. So this is a very serious matter, designating somebody as a terrorist organization or some group as a terrorist organization or some individual as a terrorist. And if we can't criticize those decisions, this confers upon the state enormous power to destroy people with no basis whatsoever in fact or in law, in any just law, I should say. It's really amounting to a state of tyranny, in my opinion. If the government of any country can not only level that type of an allegation on somebody with or without a basis, and then be immune from criticism about the decision, we are talking about outright tyranny here, in my opinion. So this is a law that is profoundly unjust. It is a threat to free speech. Needless to say, it is a threat to democracy, and it cannot be denounced strongly enough. And one way for you to express your dissent, your opposition to this law, is to assist Richard Medhurst at this time. And as I said, that's certainly what I'm going to do to the best of my ability. In any event, I'm going to be signing off for now, and I look forward to reporting to you during the week ahead from on the ground in South Lebanon and in Beirut.